I just want you to read a little bit of this. Some of it I have to read because it's very technical and I don't want to bastardize the information by not being clear. Well, James, a speech by James Trafficant in the Congressional Records.
Okay, this is the United States Congressional Record, March 17th, 1993, volume 33, page H, 1303. In red, it says, "This is important." Speaker Representative James Trafficant, Jr., Ohio, addressing the House. And it's in quotes. "Mr. Speaker, we are here now in Chapter 11. That's bankruptcy for all who don't know. Members of Congress are official trustees, presiding over the greatest reorganization of any bankrupt entity in world history, the U.S. government. We are setting forth, hopefully, a blueprint for our future. There are some who say it is a coroner's report that will lead to our demise. It is an established fact that the United States federal government has been dissolved by the Emergency Banking Act, March 9, 1933, 48 Stat 1, Public Law, 89-719, declared by President Roosevelt, being bankrupt and insolvent. HJR 192, 73rd Congress, M. Session, June 5, 1933. Joint resolution to suspend the gold standard and abrogate the gold clause, dissolved the sovereign authority of the United States and the official capacities of all United States governmental officers and departments, and is further evidence that the United States federal government exists today in name only." In name only. Continue, that's good. "The receivers of the United States bankruptcy are the international bankers via the United Nations, the World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF.
These entities all own everyone's straw man, and they're in the process of getting ready to cash in."
Tell them how.
I just want to get past.
"All United States offices, officials, and departments are now operating within a de facto status." De jure would be a real government.
Right.
De facto is a fictitious, insolvent government. "In name only, under Emergency War Powers Act, with the constitutional Republican form of government now dissolved, the receivers of the bankruptcy have adopted a new form of government for the United States. This new form of government is known as a democracy, being an established socialist communist order under a new government for America. This act was instituted and established by transferring and or placing the office of the Secretary of Treasury to that of the Governor of the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF. Public Law 94-564, page 8, section HR 13955 reads in part, "The U.S. Secretary of Treasury receives no compensation for representing the United States." Continue, oh, that's good.
Okay, this is read here.
I did that.
Okay, that's good. Basically, they're telling you that Jon Snow, he doesn't get paid by the American people. He works for the Federal Reserve, international bankers, and that's who pays his salary. Actually, the Secretary of the Treasury, as we've been taught, that is an entity that was dissolved in 1926. What we have is a trust located in Puerto Rico known as a treasury. This is why Puerto Rico will never, ever be free and separate. It's a commonwealth, and that's where they discharge all their debt and do all their scams in Puerto Rico, because it is attached to the U.S. but not in it. So this is where most of the treasury activities are taking place. It's important to understand that also in this scam, they had to also change the court system around. In 1938, there was a case called Erie Tompkins versus Erie Railroad. Right, and in this case in 1938, it changed the entire criminal justice system from public law to public policy, which is in alignment with the corporation. And this is when we completely went under admiralty. And this is why there's no attorney, bar attorney in the U.S. that can ever use a case prior to 1938. That serves as automatic disbarment, you know. And so in placing the court under an admiralty jurisdiction, what is he saying? Okay, it placed the entire court system. We are all currently in an admiralty court system. And the reason why they had to do this in an admiralty, because in admiralty, you're operating under color of law and not law itself. So they did the ultimate flip mode in the court system, and this is why it's impossible to seek any kind of fairness or justice in the court system. You're seeing that in the court system, that when you go into the court, you're looking at the flag with the gold fringes. This is letting you know it's a admiralty maritime flag. It's the flag of the sea. And what they did is they moved the water line back and they put everybody under admiralty. This is why the banks, the first thing you'll see is an admiralty flag. It's letting you know you're in an admiralty jurisdiction. That is...
The individual is admitted to practice. Such a person may purchase a certificate attesting to the fact that he went to law school. But the court does not issue a license. I'm sorry, sister. You're ready to go.
Okay. Okay. Now, under an admiralty jurisdiction, you're operating completely, it's the law of the sea. You know, and at no point would you ever believe you're going in the courtroom operating under maritime jurisdiction. But it allows them for a lot of people, most people are in debt now. You have credit card people harassing you. They're sending information to you stating that you owe this debt. But what they're doing, they're just recycling the debt. So you could owe, say, Discover. And then Discover writes it off on their books, sells it to an attorney that buys the debt for 10 cents on the dollar, and then they come after you and harass you. And they may take you to court, and in court, whenever anybody makes a claim against you, they have to do a sworn affidavit, a sworn testimony. And if you read the paperwork these lawyers are putting in, they're right from the door, they're saying, you know, it is alleged that so-and-so owes this much money. Because this can happen under color of law, because it's presumed to be law unless you have sense enough to challenge it. So like every single thing that they're dealing with is basically colorable. You know, we have a colorable jurisdiction, a colorable court, colorable claims, and basically you have to, you know, force the point that you demand proof that this debt even exists. And that's a whole nother story, because all these credit card companies, this thing I recently found out that blew me away is every credit card company and even your employment, they're using your exemption, as I said earlier. And if you want to, I probably wouldn't advise it, but unless you know what you're doing. If you want to, let me see, challenge them, you can ask, when they send you a bill, you ask them for a copy of their 1096 tax form, their 1099, their OID, the INT, and the PTR. These are all documents that prove that you are the principal, the creditor, the fiduciary creditor and principal, and they're listed on all these documents as the fiduciary debtor. They are using your exemption because you don't know about it, and then they're taxing you for it.